Hello, everybody. This is Scott McMeans once again with the Business Spotlight, and I am pleased to have on the show today Dane Shipp from Culture, a unique restaurant experience. And I'm excited to have Dane here explain a little bit about his history, a little bit about himself, his business, and share with you some of the success stories that he's had. So, Dane, I'm going to turn it over to you. Do me a favor and introduce yourself to the audience. Tell them a little bit about yourself and a little bit about culture and what your expectations are when you walk through the door.
Hello, I am Chef Dane Shipp out of Dayton, Ohio. I've been a chef since I was 19. I'm 33 now, so I spent 11 years in the restaurant world working under someone, and then decided on my 30th birthday to start pursuing my own path. Became a private chef, doing various dinners around the city of Dayton, surrounding cities like Columbus, Cincinnati, and even out of state cities. I did that for 3 years. Also did pop-ups around Dayton at different breweries and establishments who didn't offer food, and just kind of built a nice name for myself and gained some support from the city. Open Culture September 19th of 2023. We've been open for a little over 2 months. What you can expect when you come in is just a really great culinary experience. We have a team of great minds in here that we collab and come up with amazing dishes, and we use local vendors from our beef to our microgreens to our mushrooms to the sodas we have in here. We try to do as local as possible. We also try to rotate the menu so we can give you just fresh plates and just fresh ideas. And I know people get bored with food sometimes, so I get bored with food like myself. So I like to create new things all the time. It's a great atmosphere in here, friendly faces. We try to give the best service we can. And we're just excited to be a part of this community. We worked really hard to get to this point. So, we don't want you to leave here disappointed.
I don't think anyone can be disappointed based on the resume you just laid out and the expectation that you say somebody has when they walk through the door. Great atmosphere, great food, and service that's unparalleled. I think that's a great
Yeah.
way to introduce yourself. So walk me through a little bit about the success story. I mean, I'm writing down notes here, but thinking about what you've done and how you've gotten from working underneath somebody as a chef to doing pop-ups and private chefs, and now you've got your own business. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned as you've gone from working for somebody else to now you work for Dane. You work for
Yeah.
Chef Dane. That's a different scenario. So tell us a little bit about how you got to make that decision, how you got to be working for yourself.
Well, I noticed when I was working for the previous people I worked for, I just kind of seen, a ceiling for myself. And I'm just one of those people where I just have so much to offer, and I didn't like the cap that was being put on me. And, it's understandable. It's not my business. It's their business. So I decided, if I want to change that, I have to do this on my own, which is a scary thing to do. And especially I did it
Mhm.
in the heart of COVID. It was 2020 June. And I decided to quit and decide to be on my own. So that was a very bold move, but I I wanted more for myself. I wanted to create an environment for other people who wanted to come and work, for me, and just have a healthy work environment and a place where people can have fun and not dread coming to work. I mean, the hurdles have been, just learning how to, manage everything from, the money that comes in and investing back into myself or, into the company, like buying equipment, having to buy the food every week for the pop-ups, so like social media, marketing, just you really have to discipline yourself through those times. So because it's hard, you have to get people to want to come out every time you cook. Um,
Yep.
so, which is a tough thing, especially during a time where, the world was changing a little bit. But, people came out and supported, and it made my path much easier, because they came out and showed so much love. But yeah, I mean, I think the hardest transition for me is learning the business side of things. I've been a chef my whole career and focused so much on the food, and
Hmm.
having to understand the business side of things. That was something that I had to kind of learn slowly, and that's why I took my time with trying to jump into opening a restaurant. It took me 3 years to get to this point, but I didn't want to rush it and I didn't want to do it wrong. I wanted to be
Yeah.
ready. I wanted to be ready for when people come in here, they have a great experience. So, but yeah, it's been amazing. And, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I stopped being scared, because that's the hardest thing, is just being scared and just doing it. You can talk about it all day, but sometimes you got to get out there and do it.
I like that. Most entrepreneurs are very ambitious. Few entrepreneurs have the stones to set themselves up for success. And it
Yeah.
sounds like you've done that. I'm interested in, there's two things that keep playing back and forth: the experience a customer has when they walk through your door, and the environment that you create for the people that work there. Explain to me a little bit about the people that come to work for you and why they want to work for Culture.
So like most of the people that work here, a lot of them knew about me and they kind of been seeing my journey. So they were kind of already interested, and just because they've seen how often I changed the menu, they've seen how the crowds were, they've seen the reception that, the people were giving me. And they were just like, man, I would love to, come work for you. Seems like, man, you have a lot of fun, and you put a lot of passion into it, and these are also passionate people. So when we opened, I sat them down and I told them, I said, hey, this environment, we're gonna have fun, but we're gonna make sure that we take care of business first. I'm not a dictator. I don't yell at them. I treat everybody with respect, but also demand respect back. So it just creates a healthy work environment. And when you have people that's happy to work, like working here, that just like it just bleeds out into the guests, right? So they feel our energy. They see us having fun. They see us with smiling faces. So I just think naturally, I'm a kind person, so like people don't hate being around me, So I'm always smiling, I'm always friendly. But I'm very passionate about what I do, and I take what I do very seriously. So that combination of things just, I think, creates our work environment, and then that just, it's contagious into the guests, so they feel it too.
I can appreciate that. I think most people, when they get into a restaurant, they want to have an experience that makes them come back. And is there something that separates Culture and the people that work there, the experience they have? What is the reason why people come back?
Well, by the time somebody leaves here, I mean, they tell us how good the food is, and then, I'm very, I'm very confident in myself. I'm not a cocky person. I'm just very confident. I've been cooking my whole life, and so I know how the plates come out, and I just can't wait for the guests to try it. So, when they do, they're sure to let us know, how much they love it. So, I mean, yeah, some people are just amazed at the flavors we do. I've had people, I mean, just rave about our items, and I'm just appreciative of it, because we go the extra mile to make sure that these flavors are just present. I mean, from the marinated processes we do to the smoke times we doing from our things. It's just every little detail, it shows, and the layers of flavor are just there in every dish.
Let me ask you this, Chef. What's your favorite dish to make?
Oh, man, that is tough. Man, that's a hard question, and the reason why it's hard is because if it was up to me, I would change our menu every week. But I know that's very hard. I'll say this: I can't give you a dish, but I can give you a style of food.
That'd be one. I'm trying to get into your head a little bit to understand what makes you tick. Like, what's the thing you really like to make? So the style of cooking is probably a better. That way, there's a whole palette that people can get into. So yeah.
So my favorite style of food to cook is Asian, and specifically Thailand. So the reason why, I used to live with 4 gentlemen who were from Laos, and their mother worked at a Thai restaurant. So they kind of knew how to cook Thai Lao food. And when I lived with them, that's all we would do. They would just show me, you know, the food that they grew up on, the food that their mother cooks. And I mean, this was for like 3 years, and this was like my early 20s. So I kind of fell in love with. To me, Thai food is it's the perfect balance of spicy, salty, sweet, and sour. They kind of hit a lot of the elements of flavors all in one dish. So it gives your mouth a crazy experience. And
I love it.
so that's kind of like that's like my favorite just because of that history. I grew up making soul food coming from a African American household. So that Southern background also shines on my menu. So like I have collard greens, but in a different way, like on the menu. So it's not typical. Like I make a collard green risotto, with a
Oh,
piece of with a piece of blackened Arctic char on top. So I kind of take that Southern influence and kind of just fuse it with different cultures.
I love it. I love it. Now, what would you say is the atmosphere of culture? When I walk in, what does it look like? What kind of sensations do I have?
Yeah,
What's it smell like? Like when I walk through that door and I'm greeted with smiley faces, I understand that, right?
yeah.
What's it like to walk through your front door?
So when you first walk in, I think the smell of bulgogi Korean beef will hit you first because that's the smell that everybody like. As soon as they walk in, that's what they smell first. But that's like one of our best-selling appetizers, our Korean wonton nachos. So that bulgogi beef hits you right. So that's your first experience. So you walk in, and then we have local art on both sides of our walls. And it's a smaller spot. We have 36 seats inside, 30 on our patio, but obviously it's winter time, so our patio's closed. So it's just a narrow building. You're just surrounded by art. We got music playing that's typically artists like Sade, Erykah Badu, kind of the older stuff. We play Marvin Gaye. We kind of just play the older African American music just to, that's what we grew up on. That's what our grandfathers played.
Yeah,
That's what my grandfather was singing, and so that's and we have like album vinyls of Luther Vandross, Janet Jackson, George
nice.
Michael. Just kind of it's just very artsy, very music. And like I said, we try to do local art as much as possible. So so that's pretty much the experience. Just good music, good art, and then the smell of some amazing food.
I have to wipe my mouth a couple of times. It sounds like an amazing experience. I want to ask you a little bit about the business side of things.
Mhm.
You made comment earlier, the hardest thing or the business side of thing is something you struggled with. What would you rate your comfort level now that you've been in business all of a couple months, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
where does that come into play as you put this menu together, as you welcome customers in? Like where do you see yourself balancing all that?
So I say before we opened, I was like 5 out of 10,
Yeah,
and I'm like at a 7 now, and that's because I'm learning every day. Learning
yeah.
from mistakes, or I also have a consultant who helps me. I mean, she's helped me with this whole process. Without her, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. But she also coaches me and teaches me new things every day. But I'm taking my time and just trying to take it one day at a time and just learn as much as I can. But I'm like at a 7 right now. I know I still have improvements and always room for growth and so much knowledge to be learned, especially with technology these days. So all these new things that we got to learn how to use and POS
Yeah,
systems and social media and
it's a
so
lot.
yeah, it's a lot, but
Yeah,
I'm a little bit more comfortable now for sure.
that's good to hear. I'm interested to learn what is it about your consultant or your advisor? What do they do to help you get from a 5 to a 7? Like how does that relationship work?
I mean, she does everything from our payroll to our labor, to our food costs. She kind of just shows me the numbers weekly.
Yeah,
Um, you know, she's also our HR and teaching me how to deal with employees or even guests. Coming from the back of the house, we're in the kitchen. You're stuck in the kitchen all day. I'm now the owner where I'm greeting people. They're seeing me. We have an open kitchen as well, so the dining room is right here next to the kitchen. So being able to be in front of the guests and create that balance of work mode, but also smiling for the guests and treating them great when they're in here and just acknowledging them. So she coaches me on all that, and it's something I've had to learn, and I need to learn, and to transition myself out of the kitchen, because now I don't even cook pretty much anymore. I just create the dishes, show my team how to make it, and then they execute it. So it's a new role for me because I'm used to cooking everything. So she's just transitioning me into a business owner.
I love it. And that's exactly what owning your own business is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
You get a chance to create a commercial enterprise that makes profit and works when you're not around. Granted, it's your passion, you're going to be there. But the smartest move you can make is getting yourself out of the day-to-day and into running the business. It sounds like you have a great mentor that's really brought you a little bit of clarity. And if anybody ever gave me, I'm a 10 out of 10, I would have to call them a liar, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Your comment, Chef, was I'm constantly learning. One day at a time, there's an opportunity to learn, and there's always room for growth. That mindset alone has put you ahead of 90% of the people that own their own business. So I give you kudos for that. Before we close out, there's a couple things I want to ask you about advice. What kind of advice would you give a brand new business owner?
The advice I would give, I would say, to basically, there's gonna, obviously, I know about the information of like restaurant success, right? The odds are against you. I think 80% of restaurants fail. So, I would advise people to stay consistent. And what I mean by that is, what I mean by consistent is, don't change your hours right away. If you're a brand new business and on your website it says you're open 4 to 10, after 2 months, don't say, hey, I think we need to shut down at 9, because it starts to look a little weird. And then people expect you to be, open till 10, but you're changing hours. And then, it's just a weird look. Stay consistent with your product. If you believe in your product, don't go changing recipes because, 1 out of 100 people might not like something. Like we've had that here, we get 99 people that love something and one person just bashes it. And, I'm not going to go changing it, because the other 99 people, they love it. So we just stay consistent in our product, stay consistent with your operations. There's going to be hard times. You have to make the appropriate sacrifices. And your team has to understand that, whether it's you have to cut hours or, make just certain changes within the company. Like we have to get through, our first year, which I think is the toughest year for a brand new business. We're trying to gain people. Like people are used to coming to me on a pop-up, which is, a day or two, 4 to 5 hours. I'm now open 5 days a week, so I'm accessible now. So not everybody's not going to come every time now, right? So my goal is to reach out to more people, because it's so many people who still don't know about us. So then that's where staying consistent comes into play, because you never know who's going to walk through the doors and, and they want to experience what they've heard, but if you go changing things already, then they won't get that experience. So far, that's my advice. I'm only 2 months in, so like I said, I'm still learning this every day.
I'm putting this all together, Chef, and it sounds like one of the things that makes sense to me, and the way you with consistency is a key word, because you said stay consistent in your operations, your product, your team, your hours, all that. This strong sense of consistency, and then you bring that into the world of creating an environment where people want to work and an experience where people want to come and experience it. It would make sense for me, in your mind, in the mind's eye here, to say you look to treat every customer when they walk through the door, whether you've seen them 100 times or the first time. It's always the first time they get a chance to experience you. 100%. And if that's something you do, that's exactly what people want out of a restaurant, right? This 100%. Is a comfortable place to go. It's somewhere I feel as if I'm treated exceptionally well, and the food is amazing.
Yes, sir.
If
Yes,
that's
sir.
what happens, I think you're going to be a very successful restaurateur. Last question, and I like hitting this at the last question because it makes people think, and I catch you a little bit off guard. But I'm going to ask you, what would you tell the 18-year-old Dane?
Yeah.
What would you tell him?
18-year-old Dane. 18-year-old Dane was lost. He didn't know what his life was gonna be like. So, I would just tell him to, follow his heart. And at that time, I had lost my scholarship playing basketball due to a knee injury. And because I cooked my whole life, I was like, that was the only thing I knew. So I would just follow food. Food has saved my life. So I would tell him just keep following food.
Follow the food. What a great headline to put on this interview. That is fantastic, Chef. I appreciate that. This has been great. I want to thank you for telling us so much about culture, about yourself, the investment you've made, not only in yourself, but the team to create this exceptional environment, and looking to treat every customer as if it's their first ever experience at culture. I appreciate it. I thank you. And I want to thank everybody for being here. If you get a chance, check the descriptions down below. All the information on Chef Dane and his restaurant culture will be down there. And I encourage you to take a visit and have an experience of a lifetime. Thanks, Dane.
Thank you so much, man.